How's it going, guys? Welcome back to the channel, Pete's Carport. And yes, this is Dr. Dre, my 1995 Mercedes S500, and it is finally not sitting at the shop. It is at my house, and that is because I am test driving it around. So it's been quite a journey getting this thing to run well, and now I'm just trying to figure out all the little things that could have went wrong over the last year while we were working on getting this thing to be a daily again. So a few things have popped up, and one of those is it doesn't want to shift properly, and I think it's all vacuum related. So we're going to jump into that on this video. The radio is no longer allowing me to adjust the volume. In the past, we had a broken vacuum pump, so I want to try to get that installed. And we've got a few other things. Oh, and one of the major things is it started to overheat just on the drive over here. So we're going to dive into that. I think it might be a thermostat, but we'll look into what could be creating that, because it's not overheating quickly. It's just slowly creeping up over time and not wanting to come down. So we got to dive into that before this can become a daily driving car for me. So let's get this thing back over to the shop and take a look at the issues. Man, she is running beautifully, sounds amazing, but like I said, we've got those issues, and you can see our temp really started to creep up as we got back. So I'm gonna go ahead and shut her down, and let's get into this. Well, guys, I went ahead and popped our hood. We're gonna start with the cooling system and start with the most simplest thing. So we're gonna check our coolant reservoir first of all, because I was pretty confident that I had flushed out the coolant on this, replaced it, but I worked on so many cars over the last couple of years, especially friends' cars and other W140s where I was helping people out. And I don't know if I did it on this car. I know I did it on a few other cars, so we're gonna check that first. I should know right away because I always use the blue coolant. And also we're gonna check the level. Those are the two simplest things you can do. Now, common things with these cars are the cap goes bad, the reservoir goes bad, or the line here can get cracked. So your overflow line. Typically, you're going to get fluid on the ground, you're going to be losing fluid, and you're going to be low in your reservoir, and that's what's causing the overheating. Other big things that happen with these cars is your clutch fan goes bad, so we'll check that. Or your other fans do not kick on when they're supposed to kick on. So there's a few things that can cause that. Bad fans, bad relays, and there's a couple other components too. There are some temperature gauges that allow that to kick on that could go bad. On top of that, we've got our thermostat. That was my initial thought, but we can check to see if our thermostat is opening up. It's an inexpensive part to replace. If I do need to replace it, fairly easy to get to, so we will dive into that if I find my thermostat's not getting open. So we can check that by checking our upper radiator hose after the car comes up to temp. So first, let's just go ahead and check the coolant. Our reservoir here should let me know. I'm gonna go ahead and open that up, and gotta be honest with you, it's a lot lower than I expected. There is still coolant in there, but it does look dirty or green, which means I don't think I changed this out. Let me go ahead and show you guys. So it is a little low. I don't know if you can see down in there, and it does look quite a bit dirty, and it does not look like blue coolant. So it does smell like coolant though, so there's definitely coolant in there. With that said, I definitely want to do a flush on this because this car has been sitting, so thermostat could have gotten seized up, but also we could just have some old coolant in there, and we might just need to clean the whole system out. There could be a slight blockage in here too. So we want to make sure we run some cleaner through there, flush everything out properly. So we'll do that on this video. And right now we're gonna go ahead and start the car up and see if our thermostat is opening up and if we've got any leaks, which I don't think there is because I drove this car quite a bit, did not smell any coolant. And then we'll make sure our fans are kicking on as well. While we're waiting for the car to warm up, I wanted to go over a couple of things. First off, I ended up adding some coolant because it was a little bit lower than I thought, and I just want to kind of take that off the checklist just in case. The other thing is, I said we're going to go ahead and check our fan clutch, but as you can see, it seems very strong. It's spinning great, not making any noises. When it was off, I went ahead and played around with it. There's no play. I have a feeling the water pump is completely fine because that could also be an issue. So I kind of checked that one off for the time being. Now, the one thing that I did not check when I've been driving this around and noticed it was overheating is our secondary fan. So our fans that are mounted up here, and I believe, mounted right up here. And I believe with the AC on, one of these should be on. So let me go ahead and double check. I think the AC might be on. So yeah, I do have the AC on. So I believe that fan should already be kicked on. Let me kick it on high. Maybe it needs to be on high. But yeah, we're not getting either one of those fans. And I do know right up here, there's a kind of like a relay that can get corroded or go bad. So there's a way you can check these, and I've done it before on other cars. I gotta go back and look exactly how. So that can be an issue as well. But let's go ahead and let this thing warm up. We can check to see if our thermostat's opening and see if that other fan kicks on up front. So update, it looks like our thermostat is opening up. Our upper radiator hose is very hot, and you can see it's nice and stiff. That means we've got coolant flowing through there. Now the car is holding slightly steady above 80, and that's mainly probably because our clutch fan is working, but no fan came on for the AC, and I don't think that secondary fan kicks on until quite a bit up there. So I've got to be very cautious. I'm paying attention to this temperature. But I'll fill you guys in, and it looks like we're going to have to dive into these electric fans. That looks like it's going to be our main issue, as well as flushing out this coolant. So let's go ahead and wait till the temperature goes up a little bit and see if this other fan kicks on. Well guys, things are about to get a little interesting. Let me explain. So now I've kind of come to a weird conclusion that my coolant level was just a little low, and it could have been from just the years of sitting. Maybe there was a small leak somewhere. But after I added that coolant, the car has been maintaining the temperatures, and it's been on for quite a while. Now, as you can see, neither fan is coming on, but I'm suspecting that once it reaches, I think it's 105 degrees Celsius or just over 100 degrees Celsius, those fans will kick on automatically. But what creates those to kick on with the AC is a pressure switch that probably went bad, or maybe a connection's bad on it or something. So we're gonna look into that. Now, the reason why I know is if I go ahead and rev the car, which sounds beautiful, by the way. Let me get over here quickly. You'll see the fans are spinning, and that's because it's creating pressure. Now, I'm also wondering if it has anything to do with vacuum, but from what I read, it has to do with the AC pressure switch. So let's go ahead now, flush out this coolant. We're gonna check into the AC pressure switch and see what we can find out there. And hopefully this is just a coolant flush. Like I said, the thermostat's coming on. Our clutch fan seems great, not making any noises. I even turned the car off a little bit ago, checked it, not wobbling at all. So it seems like our water pump and everything is still good too. If I rev the car, temperatures come down. So I think we're good on all those fields. I'm just thinking that it was a really hot day. I was a little bit low on coolant, and obviously fans not kicking on with the AC. So that probably created a little bit of a scare for me. I did not let it creep all the way up. So I was not aware if the fans ended up kicking on those couple of days I drove it. So a little bit easier to resolve on this one, but sometimes you have a lot more problems, especially with cars that sit. Sometimes you get blockages and stuff like that, but I don't think we have that. So let's go ahead now, shut the car down, let it cool. We're gonna flush this coolant, so we'll drain it. We're gonna add some cleaner to it, run that with some distilled water, and then we'll just keep cycling that till we have it nice and cleaned out. Add some fresh coolant to it, but we're also gonna dive into that pressure switch and see what's going on there. All right, guys, I'm all set up to do our coolant flush. So what we're gonna do is a basic flush. We're gonna go ahead and drain out what's in there. I've got a pan down there, got the car jacked up. And we're gonna drain it and then fill it with distilled water, and then our radiator flush. This is the Blue Devil one. Any of them pretty much are gonna work, and that's gonna allow us to get rid of all the dirt and grime from the years out of our system. And we may run another distilled water through there depending on how dirty it is and flush that. And we'll go ahead and fill it with the Blue Mercedes coolant. I'm just gonna be using this Peak, and I had some leftover Peak as well from a current project. And then I think this Xerox back here too, which is the same Mercedes setup coolant. So I recommend at least using the blue coolant from like either Peak or like this Xerox here. There's a few others out there, or go to your local Mercedes dealership, get the correct coolant. A lot of people say that that's the only way to go, or order that online. This is not a coolant flush fill video, so I'm just going to zoom through all of this, and we're going to look at the results and see if it does bring our temps down. Coolant does not look bad, actually. Pretty green. Well, guys, I'm very happy with the cooling system now. We've got it completely flushed out, and we've got at least this issue of overheating resolved temporarily. And moving forward, we kind of know exactly what we have to do to fix it permanently. Now it's time to move on to the transmission. So this is something that I have dealt with before, and it's really not that difficult of a thing. Typically, with these cars, the transmissions are pretty stout, so any issues you're having can usually be fixed. Now, if it's a pre-facelift, they are vacuum controlled for the shift timing. So if you're having issues with hard shifting or not shifting, look at the vacuum system first. Make sure your lines aren't broken, that the lines are there. And I've actually went underneath the car already because I had it jacked up to do the cooling and found that the line is not even there. So I'm gonna show you guys that clip real quick. I got under there with the light on and was able to record the little piece that's the rubber piece that comes off the transmission. And there's no line going to it. So what I need to do now is figure out if that line is up here. And I believe now, when I was searching for vacuum lines, when I was having my misfire, I came across a very long one that I couldn't figure out where it went. And I pulled it out, and I'm pretty sure that that had come loose off of the transmission and just needs to be pushed back down in there and fed to that. And the other one that I'm missing, we just got to figure out where all that goes. So let's go ahead and take all of this off, kind of take a look at our vacuum lines here, and get this hard shifting transmission resolved. Now, if you have a post facelift, so a 96 and up, conductor plates are usually the issue when it comes to transmission. I've done a bunch of videos on that, so if you have questions about that, definitely let me know and I'll fill you in the best I can. But let's dive into this, get all of this stuff off the top of our motor so we can kind of see down in there and see if we can get this vacuum line rerouted so that this thing shifts properly. This is that vacuum line I was talking about. Now, I had plugged it into another vacuum line that was missing, and I thought, kind of feel around in here, I thought that's where it had went, but I'm pretty sure that this is going to be what drops down in there. I just don't know if it's long enough or if it's supposed to have another piece to it. But I'll try to route it back down in there, and I'll try to find well, there is a diagram on here, but I'll try to find exactly which one goes to the transmission. But this would make sense right on your intake part of the block here. So let's see if I can route that down in there and see if it reaches. I ahead and pulled the vacuum line down below. Got the car jacked up more for some room. And I don't think it needs to be too long to get back up into that engine. So I'm gonna get this put in to the vacuum line here, like that. And then I'm gonna try to feed it up to Xavier up top. Just like that, I was able to route it back behind our throttle cable, and it even has a little bit of slack. Got it pulled back onto here, and I don't even know where the other vacuum line piece went that I plugged in, but I'm not seeing any other vacuum lines. So maybe I just had another piece that I plugged it into and looped it and didn't have it right, but all I know now is it looks like it's correct, and we're gonna take it for a ride and see how it works, if it shifts properly. Well guys, this was one of the most successful videos I've done in a long time. The car is running absolutely beautifully. It is holding good temps, but I have decided, I talked to Zay, we're gonna go ahead and just pull off this plug right here and let these fans run kind of high, full time. It's just too hot in Florida. I know it's loud to run the fans, but I don't want to get stuck on a highway, get in traffic, and have any issues. So I'm gonna run it like that until I can get around to figuring out that AC pressure switch. And he got up here now, just took a ride with me, and got to see firsthand how strong this car is, how well it's running, and just how well it's shifting now. So if you guys have any issues with your transmission, especially on these pre-facelifts, it's typically going to be a vacuum line, so check that first. And if you have issues with your cooling system and your fans aren't kicking on, do that little trick. At least that'll get you back and forth to where you're going without overheating. And we'll go ahead and jump in and I'll show you temperature gauge wise. Now I had a little bit more plans for this video, but and you can see there it did kind of creep up, but with those fans kicked on, we should be good. And we took it on a fun, hard ride, so the temps did probably want to creep up after that ride we just took. We really got on it. And yeah, so I planned on doing a little bit more on this video, but I want to jump into some of the other things on a next video where I'm going to kind of clean the interior up now that it's running really well, and play around with getting a lot of the stuff put back together that I started, and then just moving forward for you guys, because I really like this car and I have so many plans for the future, and it's fun to jump into. You guys have an awesome day, a blessed week, and we might do some more stuff on Zay's car coming up soon too. See you guys on the next one.